Hey everybody, Doxy here, and I have with me a friend, Mr. Jarien Sky. Say hello, Jerry.
Hi.
He is an artist friend of mine that is actually a personal friend of mine that has been for years, and he does amazing 3D art. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about his art. I thought that I would do an interview here, and that way, game devs, if you're interested in hooking up with any artists, you know where to look. Okay, so Jerry, what do you say we just jump right into it? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Jarien Sky. As you said, I am a 3D artist. I specialize in modeling and texturing. That's my focus. I've been doing it for several years now, and I've worked on games and a little bit of video stuff and educational interactive software. Um, that about covers my brief intro. You can ask me more questions.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so Jerry, what is your specialty or area of focus or sub-discipline of 3D computer graphics?
Oh, right. Well, like I said, I'm mostly a modeler and texture artist. And I've done a lot of different things. As far as modeling, I've can do some high poly sculpting and also low poly modeling. Most of what I've done has been for games or interactive software. So it's mostly at a polygon count for real-time interaction. I haven't done like a whole lot of really high polygon stuff for like pre-rendered video or movies. I've done a little bit of work on video, but definitely what I focus on is game art and interactive art, and like stuff that will actually go into a game engine. And let's see, a lot of people sort of specialize in hard surface modeling or organic, and I've definitely done a lot of both. So I've done a lot of props and environments, and I've also done characters and a lot of some animals and organic stuff working on educational science software where they had dissectable animals basically for students to learn anatomy. So my work has been split pretty evenly between like mechanical hard surface stuff and also organic stuff. Um, and yeah, as far as modeling, it's mostly for real-time interaction, but I do like ZBrush sculpts and high-res sculpting as well.
Okay, that's pretty cool. What is your professional experience?
All right, so should I go in chronological order or reverse chronological order?
Probably chronological.
Like from the beginning. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I started drawing when I was like 3 years old. I wasn't professional back then, but when I was
Kids in
four,
the
I was very
classroom paying you
professional.
nickels.
Yeah, I had a lemonade stand, but instead of lemonade, it was like stick figure art, and I said self portraits, and the kids in my neighborhood just got really mad and beat me up because they were
Yeah.
like, "That's ugly." No, that didn't happen. I did actually start drawing when I was like 3 years old. One of my earliest memories actually is just like being a little kid sitting on the floor of my living room, just like being really happy because I had drawn a bunch of things with markers, and I think I was with my sister, and she had like inspired me to do that because she had been drawing with markers, and I was like, I want to also, and then I sat there all day drawing and like with markers, and I was super happy as a 3 year old.
That's the
Anyway, okay,
best.
so yeah, all right, professional experience. That was a joke. Got a little carried away with it. Um, I drew a lot. I took art classes in high school, and I went to art college. I guess I can talk more about that later. But professional experience. The first uh, job that I had doing 3D art was working for Liquid Development in Portland, Oregon, which is a video game art outsourcing studio. Which, to explain to people who might not know, basically they are they develop content for games, but they are not a game developer, and that like other companies hire them to work on parts of games. So it was good because it was a way for me to get experience doing. I was basically like low man on the totem pole on multiple different AAA projects. So it was a good way to see how like basically the workflow for and pipeline for some really big games, and it was a way to work on a lot of big games without like I was still a student at the time when I
Hmm.
started, so that way it was like I didn't necessarily have enough experience to be like hired at one of the like really high-end game developers, but I was working at a game art outsourcing company that would hire me, and so I'd work on like bits and pieces of different games. So that was pretty cool. Working there, I the biggest project I worked on there was probably Rock Band. I also did some props for little things for Killzone 2 and Warhawk on. I think I always forget if it was PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360. And let's see, what else did I work on there? I guess those were probably the bigger ones that I worked on were Rock Band and Killzone 2 and Warhawk. And then after that, so that was in Portland, Oregon. Eventually, I moved back home to Iowa, and I started working for an educational software company there, called Cyber Anatomy, and they started doing dissectable human anatomy for college students to learn. So I actually like worked on software that like med students use to learn anatomy, basically. So that was really awesome. I like drawing a lot. I like drawing people, and I'm really fascinated by human anatomy. So that was a really awesome project to be able to work on. And that company kind of branched out, and they basically make like science mini games. So I ended up doing a lot of like hard surface models and props for just various like physics activities. So they really like expanded their educational software to just cover science, and then also things like animal anatomy. Like I said, I worked on a lot of bacteria, like models of microbiology. So just a really like big variety of things like that. I worked there for a number of years. That's like the biggest experience that I have doing 3D graphics. And although it was an educational software company, it basically worked like a game. Like we used Unity, the game engine.
Right.
So
yeah.
I was basically making game art assets and importing them and setting them up in engine and everything. And then for the last 6 months or so, I've basically just been freelancing, just working for different, mostly indie developers, just kind of doing whatever they need, basically.
Do you want to talk about any of those projects at all?
Yeah, right now I am doing art for a company called Rocket Cat Games. They're a small indie company. They made, I think probably the biggest game was Wayward Souls. It was a mobile game, and it was kind of a 2D, I'm not sure, I guess it's like a permadeath, I'm not sure exactly what genre to call it. It's sort of like Binding of Isaac, I guess.
Roguelike.
Where you kind of just like go through rooms and explore and get as far as you can. And the game that I'm working on now for them, I don't know if it's been officially announced. I'm not really sure how much I can say about it. It's their first 3D game, basically.
Okay.
So it's kind of cool. It has it's a cool art style. It's kind of minimalist, and they're probably going to be branching out to more 3D stuff from there. So we'll see where it goes.
That is pretty exciting. The future of a game company.
Yeah.
All right. So what would you say your strengths are? Like what qualities that you apart from other 3D artists?
Let's see. There's a lot of 3D artists, so it's kind of hard to separate myself from others. But as far as I think what I really I'm strong at, I mean, there's always someone who's a better artist than you somewhere in the world.
Right.
So I'm not going to claim to be like the world's best artist, but I feel like I have a really good eye for detail, and I'm really analytical. So I feel like I'm really good at being able to critique other people's work as well as my own work, and just I have a good eye for detail and analysis. So I'm very responsive to like revision requests and things like keeping an art style consistent and matching up colors and composition and things like that. And human anatomy also, from having worked on anatomical software, and also I've done a ton of life drawing, and I've got a bunch of anatomy books that I always have sitting next to my desk.
Yeah, definitely. That shows in your work.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I have some of the human anatomy stuff on my portfolio, as well as I think I have at least one character up there as well. So yeah, probably human anatomy, and also just like eye for detail and analysis and critiques I would say are my biggest strengths.
Totally. If I may, I think that your eye for proportion is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. What is a challenge that you have faced in past work, and how did you overcome it?
Oh man. Oh, there's been lots of challenges. Let's see.
You can pick many if you want. We got all day.
I guess so. Here's what I'll say for one of the ones that I'm like pretty happy with, like how it turned out, I guess.
Okay.
So working for Cyber Anatomy, there was a couple years ago, I guess, I was doing like the entire, basically setting up a material and texture library for a suite of mechanical models we were doing. It was basically a bunch of like engines and stuff that the user would be able to like take apart to see how engines worked. And that was, I think, shortly after we first started using Unity. So it was a little experimental as far as just like setting up like the folder hierarchy and project structure and all that stuff. As far as just like texture resolution, where to save files, how to organize them, and how big the files can get and all that kind of stuff. So it was for our company at the time, it was a little bit of an unknown because we were setting up that project a little bit differently than past projects. So it basically just took a lot of communication with like the lead artist as well as like the engineers and programmers who were kind of like setting up the doing the programming, setting up the project in the back end and everything.
Okay.
So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out originally. It was just kind of like a lot of organization and making sure things were working right for other people. And then we kind of had several more projects that we set up in similar ways and kind of improved our process as we went along, and we got it more streamlined. So I'm pretty happy with having just kind of helped sort of set up a sort of project structure to like make most efficient use of our resources.
Totally, yeah, that's awesome. I think that it's really important for artists and game devs to be able to have like a really good basis for communication. I think that that's awesome that you're able to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things. Just the more that I work on projects, I feel like sort of good communication like trumps everything else.
Absolutely,
like,
absolutely.
The more like if there are problems, if everybody can work together to solve problems, like I'd rather work with someone who has like mediocre talent and is like really good at explaining things and communicating than someone who's like super talented but a total asshole. Can I say that?
You can totally say that. It's hard to work with somebody who's difficult. Like, yeah. No, I absolutely get it. Okay. Did you want to talk about any more? Should we move on?
As far as like challenges or whatever, I'll stop there. There've been I'll talk a little bit about other things. There have been times with basically a lot of crunch time and all-nighters and stuff, and that is extremely challenging, and I try to avoid it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely not ideal, and I don't really, have a good solution other than budget your own time well and don't work for people who manage projects poorly so that you end up having to put all-nighters.
Yeah.
So that was definitely also another challenge, and there isn't really anything to it other than lots of coffee and power through it and try to finish as soon as possible. And knowing my own limits and understanding when it's like, okay, I need to sleep, otherwise my work will
suffer.
I'm not working as efficiently. So
totally.
That's obvious. That's a challenge that I face. That probably every game artist and anyone working in games has faced at some point, is just like crunch time and bad hours. And I think the industry is evolving to get better about recognizing that and managing projects so that doesn't happen. I know there was recently like a series of I think 5 different posts on Gamma Sutra by a group called like the Games Outcomes Project, and they basically just surveyed like 1,000 game developers or something and did a lot of like analysis and metrics on it to basically correlate like what practices and what like people of what experience and what engine and what target platform performed the best, blah blah blah, and they pretty much concluded that crunch is always bad and that it's always better to like keep people working well within 40 hours a week than saying, well, this is due in a week, you have to work 80 hours this week.
Yeah, definitely. Time management is something that is super important in video games, especially when you have more than one person working on a project.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's definitely something that I've like gotten better at just for myself as
I
worked more and more. Like it was definitely more of a problem when I first started than it is now. Just I've learned my own process better and how to manage my time better.
Definitely. Learning how to budget your time is something that seems to come with experience and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. So, Jarien, tell us what inspires you. What is your inspiration?
Everything. Other artists. Let's see. Sometimes I listen to music a lot when I'm working. I look up. So seriously, I look up just what other artists are doing. And what my girlfriend is telling me what to say because I've talked to her about it sitting right next to me. Okay, so I guess I'll do this one in chronological order. So this is kind of cheesy to say now, but like when I was a little kid, Sonic the Hedgehog was the first game that I really liked that got me into video games.
Beautiful art in that game too. So
yeah, it is wonderful.
Yeah,
and I know Sonic is kind of not. The current games are a little not. How do I say this? They're not quite following through on the reputation or the legacy or whatever.
Right.
But I still really like Sonic games. I actually have Sonic action figures and the box to Sonic Chaos on the Sega Game Gear, which I used to have it up on my wall. It's on a shelf right now. But that was actually me reminding myself what inspired me as a little kid to keep myself motivated to work. The Sonic Chaos on the Sega Game Gear, I think, was probably like the first Sonic game that I played. So that was like initial inspiration. Some of my old initial inspiration was Virtua Fighter 1 in the arcades. It was the first 3D fighting game, and when I saw that for the first time when I was a little kid, I was just totally blown away and was like, holy shit, this is what I want to do with my life. So I'm kind of lucky in that sense that like when I was very young, I knew what I wanted to do and was
Right.
like, I'm gonna be a 3D artist. I mean, it also just takes a whole lot of hard work. It wasn't like I became it because I wanted to, but I had direction early on in life, I guess is what I'm saying. So that was early inspiration. Inspiration now, I just look up what other game artists are doing. I look at what games are coming out and what people are doing. Game that I saw announced recently is called Gigantic, which is it's being made in Seattle by, I forgot the name of the company offhand. But I love their art style. It's really they have a really diverse character design. Like the body types and the shapes and the colors are super diverse. The size and scale difference is immense, and like there's different animals and character types and stuff. But they have a cohesive art style as far as just like their use of like bright colors and large blocky shapes. So they're just like looking up things like that really inspires me. I go on Twitter and Tumblr and ArtStation and Polycount and just like all the different CG websites and just look at what other game artists are doing. And not just game artists, also just movie artists. And I do kind of tend to focus my inspiration mostly on what other CG artists are doing and commercial artists, and also not just 3D. Like I look up concept art. Fengzu is a really good like sort of environmental mechanical concept artist that does 2D stuff that's always really impressive. So yeah, I just look at what other artists are doing. Basically, I don't know if that was kind of a rambling answer. I don't know.
No, that's a-okay. It made all the sense to me. Do you like go to any like forums, or do you like hang out anywhere that?
Yeah. I mean, there's the Polycount forums. Polycount.com is just a website for game artists. Basically, there's forums and challenges and stuff. I have not actually participated in the challenges there, just due to lack of time. But it's definitely something that I would like to do at some point. Where basically like every few months or so, they'll be like, okay, excuse me, general community. Like the last one they did was basically to like redesign a League of Legends character.
Oh, cool.
Or I guess that was the character art category. They also had like environment art and concept art and animation and effects. So I just like looked at what everybody submitted for that, and it was just really inspirational and impressive. I also just like follow a lot of game artists and game developers on Twitter and just see what other people are working on, and on Tumblr and Pinterest or whatever. I just look at people's art. So there's Polycount and CG Society, it's kind of geared more towards the film industry these days, but I've been on there a long time, and there's a lot of good forums in there, and like you can post work and get feedback and stuff, and websites like that have been really helpful for me as far as developing my own skills and also just looking at what other people are working on and getting feedback from other people. Totally. And I also just buy a ton of art books. I've got a lot of anatomy books and concept art books. Let's see, what do I have on my shelf? Concept art of X-Men 2. Knives and Swords, A Visual History. I got a Star Trek art book the other day that really excites me. I really like Star Trek. So yeah, just a lot of stuff like that.
That is good. And you know what? That wraps up really nicely into our next question is, why do you like making 3D art?
Oh, I guess I kind of covered that a little bit already. It's just fun for me. I just enjoy it. I
think that's really important.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, doing art was something that I really liked as a little kid. And like I was 5, I didn't have like a conscience or like moral code or sense of like world issues or anything. I just did it because I liked it. And I guess I'm lucky that as an adult, I still just like enjoy it just at that base, like instinctual level almost. Right. I also like the older I get, and I want to like, I enjoy doing this, but I also want to do something that's like contributing to the world basically. And obviously I do think that games are fun and important. And it's an important aspect of human experience. I don't think that what I'm doing is as important as like doctors doing surgery to save people's lives and stuff. I still think it's like an important part of human experience.
Absolutely. Bringing beauty to the world is absolutely, I think it's just as important.
Yeah. But I do kind of tend to gravitate towards like, I guess I like things that are more educational. Like I worked for an educational software company for a number of years, and like the fact that I worked on stuff that like this is what like surgeons are learning in med school, and I made the 3D software that they're using to learn anatomy to operate on people. Like that makes me feel really good, and in that sense, I feel like I'm contributing to the world. It is like working on games is entertaining, but that is also it's like something that's
really
like
rewarding
for people. Yeah. So that's kind of one reason why I do stuff like this, and I appreciate the companies that do like educational games, and I feel like there's kind of a stigma against educational games because it tends to be like games are either made for entertainment or for education, and educational games are stupid and boring and low budget and nobody likes them.
Hey man, Frog Fractions. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I don't think I've played that. Is that a very fun educational game?
It's old. It's
Okay.
really old.
I remember there's actually a game made by a local game developer here in Boston that's called uh, The Counting Kingdom, which is like a math game, and it's gotten like pretty popular and it's gotten really good reviews, and it's like basically you learn math doing it, and people are like, this is super fun, and I really like math. So like I really I forgot the name of the company, or the woman's name who made it is Jenna Hofstein, and like so I give her a lot of credit for like making something that's educational and also like really fun for people. And I know there's a company, Shell Games, that makes like educational games, and they're like a legit game developer that like makes high quality games. So like working on projects like that, like I haven't worked for them, but just I'm aware of companies like that, and things like that are like the type of projects that I really like to work on.
Excellent. Okay, that's something to think about, game devs. All right, so what are your proudest accomplishments as a 3D artist?
Oh man, all right. I guess there's a few different ways to answer that. So like Rock Band is probably the biggest game that I've worked on, so I'm pretty happy that I worked on that just because it got really huge and really popular. I think it was like one of the like most profitable games of 2008 or something. So as far as just being like, hey, I worked on this game that like people all over the world played and blah blah blah, that was pretty cool as far as like scope. Proudest accomplishments, like on a personal level, it's honestly probably what I mentioned before, working on making like models and textures of human anatomy that med students are using to learn anatomy to like be surgeons and stuff. Like to think that like I made this and like kids in school are like I say kids, but really it's like people in med school who are probably like been there for 15 years and they're like 35 or something. But like I guess like on a personal level, that's probably the project that I work on that I feel like has probably like contributed the most to the world and that like I feel really good about.
Excellent. So what are some of your favorite pieces? Like that you've done, that other people have done, whatever you want to talk about here?
Oh man. One of my favorite pieces that I've done recently is I think it's the top character in my portfolio with horns. This is actually, so I took a class through cgsociety.org that was just advanced video game character creation, which was taught by, oh my god, I'm blanking on the guy's name. He was an artist. I think he was a lead character artist on God of War 3.
Okay.
That's actually a character that he designed, which he named Willoughby. I don't really know what that means, but I don't know. I just spent a lot of time in that character, making it like pretty detailed for a game, and I put a lot of effort into it, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. Also, I guess Saturn V rocket, which I also have in my portfolio, which was for cyber anatomy for some. It was for one of their educational programs, basically for students to learn about rockets. And I looked up, I did a ton of research about the U.S. space program, and like I found these. It was actually kind of entertaining. I found like these PDFs that was like 100 pages of like the making. I don't know if it was the making, but it was like when the space program was going on in the 60s and 70s. It was like a bunch of technical manuals and stuff for the rocket ships. So that was really interesting. But I put a lot of effort into like looking at what the rocket, like looking at photos of the rocket and like technical manuals and stuff, and I also had to model like the engines on the inside and the pipes and stuff like that. So that was kind of like a lot of research and a lot of detail, and I'm pretty happy with that turned out also. Yeah, so those are some of my favorite pieces of myself. As far as other people's work, it's hard to name individual pieces. There are artists, I guess. I'll say Jon Troy Nickel is a character artist, and I really like his stuff. He's I don't know, he just does really cool looking characters. They're usually pretty they kind of have like a fantasy simplified style, but they're always really inspirational to me.
Okay.
Let's see. There's also a guy named, I'll have to Google. I'm blanking on people's names here.
You're kind of on the spot, so
yeah,
I think we can all forgive you.
All down beforehand. Oh man, other artists. I'll get back to you on these, I guess.
No problem.
Adam Fisher. He's a really good 3D character artist. Yeah. He's one of the people whose just work I've looked up and consistently impresses me.
What do they like work on?
Freelance character artist. I'm looking at his art station right now.
Like video games, movies?
Yeah. He's worked on games.
Okay.
I don't know if these are personal projects or what game they were for. I'm just looking at a lot of his like personal work.
Right.
Um, I'm honestly not sure what game it was for. Or I guess didn't really specifically look up the games. I just found his like portfolio or ArtStation. ArtStation is just another website for artists to display
Totally.
And, yeah, it's really impressive. If I can figure it out what actual game it's for, I'll get back to you.
No problem. That brings us to what are your hobbies outside of 3D graphics?
My hobbies outside of 3D graphics: kicking ass and being a bad. I'm kidding. I'm total wuss. I wouldn't want to meet you on the street in a dark alley. What are my hobbies? All right. I play guitar. I've kind of dropped that. I haven't done that very much lately, but just 'cause I've been super busy. But I play guitar, and music is great. I listen to rock music like all the time, and music in general. Like when I'm working, I'm usually listening to music.
Mm-hmm.
I like a whole lot of a range of music. Like I like indie rock, but I don't listen to that when I work because the words are too distracting. So most of what I listen to when I work is either electronic dance music because the lyrics are minimal, or metal, which I love, and like that's what I play on guitar. And it has lyrics, but it's like you can't really tell what they're saying most of the time. Just all screaming, which is horrible for me to say because like I listen to a lot of metal bands, but a lot of it is European also, so like it's speaking in another language.
Right.
So it like talking distracts me when I work. But yeah, I like listening to music a lot, and playing guitar, and I read science fiction. I really like science fiction. I guess I watch sci-fi like movies and TV shows. As I mentioned before, I really like Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I try to like keep up on like politics and world events and news, and just kind of pay attention to like things that are going on in other countries, and not be one of those people who thinks like America is the center of the world.
Totally.
So yeah, I guess a little bit of other creative things like reading and music, and a little bit of like trying to stay aware of larger world issues is I guess what I do in my free time outside of doing 3D art.
Okay, doke. All right, I'm getting ready to wrap this up.
All right.
So real fast, just want to let the people know what your educational experience is.
Oh yeah. So I went to the Art Institute of Portland in Oregon, and I got a bachelor's in media arts and animation, which was basically computer animation that I focused on. I took like foundation art classes and like life drawing and color theory and design principles and all that good stuff too. So yeah, when I first started working in the field at the game company Liquid Development in Portland, Oregon, like I started there as an internship through the Art Institute of Portland where I was going, and then they kept me on after I interned basically. So yeah, that was my educational experience. And also I've just taken just go to life drawing studios on my own. It's not like a degree program, but you just go and like draw people basically. And some of them have had like guidance and coaching, and I've taken some like classes, and some is just like go there and draw. So yeah, I do things to like continue my education after I got my degree. And also, like I said, I took that CG Society class online. Yeah, so that's my education.
Cool. Definitely something that you never stop learning. Art.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, also my education, just the internet. There's always new software coming out. There's always like new techniques. So I just go on forums and just like see what people are doing. Like people just post tutorials and stuff, or like look at this new technique using this software, etc. So yeah, it's also just you're always learning, and you got to, because there's new technology coming out all the time. So like in this field, if you're not learning, you're not just stagnating, you're falling behind.
Definitely. Okay, so I want to thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks I liked it.
Absolutely, I had a really good time, and definitely let us know how stuff is going with you. But before we go, how can we see your work and like get in touch with you if like anybody wants to get a hold of you to maybe work together?
Yeah. So I have my portfolio. That's just jariensky.com. I'll spell my name once. Presumably, we can put text in the video.
Totally. Yeah, I'm also gonna put all the links below the video. So.
Okay. Yeah. So it's JARIENSKY.com. And that's like my professional portfolio with finished pieces. I have a Tumblr. It's just my art blog where I just post like works in progress, and I also just post news and inspiration and stuff on there too. I try to point it out if there's art that I'm posting, if it's my work or somebody else's, because I do use it as an art blog, so I don't want to like accidentally take credit for somebody else's work or whatever. And I also have a Twitter that I just use to just keep in touch with other like game developers and game artists and stuff like that. And it's all just
make dick and booger jokes with me.
Make what jokes?
Dick and booger jokes.
Dick and booger. I don't know about that. I try to keep it at least like semi-professional. I'd have to say penis jokes. I think dick is a bad word.
Okay, my bad. I'm so sorry.
I'm not sure though. Shit. Oh man, now you've got me cussing like a sailor. Yeah, so I've got and I have like a LinkedIn profile too. So if you Google my name, you can find my art and ways to reach me, and yeah, we can put up links.
All right, beautiful. Well, again, thank you so much,
Yeah,
and keep in touch. And if any of you want to get a hold of Jarien, you know how to do that. And yeah, I think that about wraps this up.
cool. It was good talking to you, Doxy. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
absolutely. All right, we'll see you guys later.
All right.